way you do. Every morning we do. It's Gil Alexander. It's Kelly Bidlin, producer number 9. So much more than a producer. Live from Bar Canada at the D. What's happening?
Hey-o, how we doing?
We're good. We've got an interesting show today. Something for everyone today. A potpourri, if you will.
That's right.
We got, on a great Memorial Day racing weekend, Phil Bobbitt will join us to talk motorsports. I'm talking Indy. I'm talking F1.
There's everything.
Everything. All over the race.
I don't know if this is something new. We'll have to ask him. Like, you and I are both not big racing guys.
There's speak for yourself.
Does Indy 500 and Monaco always happen on the same weekend?
I have no idea, but we'll ask Phil, as you said.
Yeah.
But he's got picks for 4 different races, so we can't do a lot of small talk with him. Just into the picks.
You may remember him for F1 Vegas. He crushed
it.
His follow-up appearance was not as great, but for F1 Vegas, yes, he crushed.
Soccer with Paul Carr, John Legasa, baseball. Jason Weingarten will be here. Jonathan Davis to talk NHL playoffs with us as well. Great game last night in the NHL in the Western Conference Finals. Both organizations should be very proud of themselves, but Edmonton ends up winning it in double overtime. I'm just talking that way so the Game Plus audience will understand it.
I always do the same thing where I've got the hockey on TV too, and at some point I change it, and then I flip back and they're in overtime.
It was great last night. Great game.
I missed the game-tying goal, I guess, in the third.
Yeah,
that's what I missed.
About 3.5 minutes left. Tyler Sagan putting it in, his second of the day. Yeah, that forced overtime. That overtime was amazing. The first overtime was incredible for different reasons. We'll talk to Jonathan Davis about that series. Of course, the Rangers and the Panthers as well. I added a tennis bet in the French Open. Drew and I did the French Open podcast yesterday. That's at Beating the Book, if you're interested in that. So that's up as well. Got to talk about a baseball game last night. We'll get to that. Let's start with basketball last night. That's obviously the headline between the Pacers and the Celtics. And the Celtics take a 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 Eastern Conference Final Series against the Pacers. And they do so going away. A blowout last night, 126-110. We'll go through this. It'll be brief. And part of this is going to be, obviously, the implications of this series moving forward. And Kelly, I don't know about you. I texted you a couple times last night. I don't know if you got this from me. I felt like I was there. There were certain times, we watch sports 365 days a year, and every once in a while, there's a night where I'm watching something, and I think, is everybody else in on something that I'm not aware of? Did I not get an email about this? Let me explain. Game starts last night. Pacers led by 2 after the first quarter. First quarter was fine. They had a 6-point lead at one point. They led it 27-25, and then. That's when the game completely turned, because part of that started at the end of the first quarter, and the Celtics turned that 27-22 deficit. They scored the last 3 points of the first quarter. They turned a 27-22 deficit into a 42-27 lead. It was a 20-0 Celtics run, and I believe I texted you during this, where I'm like, is anybody on the broadcast going to mention what a run this is by the Celtics shutting out the Pacers? The first time the broadcast mentioned it was at 17-0. And it was the first time I was like, well, this is weird.
Yeah.
It's a very weird broadcast we're watching.
I was sitting there cooking dinner in the kitchen, and I'm doing the whole look around the score, okay, but I'm listening to the game. Every time I look at the TV, I'm like, okay, they're on 27 still. They're on 27. I'm like, hey, did I miss something? I'm like, haven't there been 6 minutes of this game that have passed by, but since
correct.
They scored? And I'm like, nobody's mentioned it.
Nobody. So it was. I was like, what am I watching? Does Mike Breen, is he not getting? Is the producer in his ear not telling him something?
I believe they had to have had issues last night
because there was other things coming up too. By the way, I believe part of this, because I love Doris Burke on these broadcasts. I believe that the insertion of J.J. Redick has completely minimized Doris Burke, that she defers too much, and that I think if she was more prominent, this would have come up sooner. Anyway, Celtics' biggest lead in the half was 45-29. Pacers did cut the lead at the end of the half with a 12-5 run, so it was 57-51 Celtics at halftime. So the game was not out of hand by any stretch at that point. Siakam had 16 on 8 of 9 shooting. He was phenomenal. Jaylen Brown at this point had 24. Drew Holiday had 10 on perfect 4 for 4 shooting, 2 for 2 for behind the arc. But the Celtics' rebounding advantage was 25-17. They crashed the boards. They had 10 offensive boards. And then the third quarter starts. Pacers cut it to 2, 68-66. And then from that point forward, good God. Celtics went up 15. They led by 13 after 3, 93-80. Then they went up. Then the fourth quarter starts. They go up 17. We find out. So I'm getting texts now at this point. Back to the weirdness of the broadcast. I'm getting texts from people saying, "Oh man, Halliburton's done for the game." I'm like, "What do you mean Halliburton's done for the game?" "Oh, it's all online." And then finally, the broadcast mentions, "Oh, by the way, the best player on the Indiana Pacers, or the most key player all year, Tyrese Halliburton, is done for the game with leg soreness." And I'm like, well, thanks for mentioning that. Leg soreness immediately, for those who are hip to Halliburton's injury, you immediately went to the hamstring. He missed 10 games in January with the hamstring injury. That is what it turned out to be, by the way. Rick Carlisle, after the game, saying he was sore at halftime. He was getting work done for the entirety of halftime. He came out, gave it a shot, and all the effort that he could. I couldn't have talked about it directly to him, so I can't read minds, but it wasn't going well. The trainers determined he had to be brought to the back to be worked on, and then later he was ruled out. So, again, strange where we got that on the broadcast. I was like, what am I watching here? And then Celtics go up 19, 113-94. They end up winning 126-110. And the other big point that I thought was bizarro on the broadcast was that not only was Halliburton ruled out, but there was no Miles Turner for the fourth quarter at all. The Pacers, in effect, decided at some point to punt on this game. And I thought it was the weirdest thing, and I get it, they were down double digits, but for goodness sake, if any team in the NBA races double-digit leads as quick as the Indiana Pacers, I don't know what that team is. And the Pacers already showed that in this series. But they effectively punted on this game earlier than that seemed to be normal. And again, the broadcast crew said nothing about this at any point, nor did any of the post-game, no one made this remark about that. And I thought it was very weird. And at one point, I'm like, am I watching Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals? What am I watching? This was like a regular season punt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very apparent to Joe Mazzulla, because he was like, you do whatever you want to do.
He's keeping everybody in.
I've seen my guys joke before.
Yes.
I'm leaving all my guys in.
You're right.
It was another way, like surreal. Carlisle talking about it post-game was weird, like talking about needing to get Doug McDermott looks and stuff, and like, what are we talking about?
McDermott's in, the kid from Maryland with the rec specs is in.
Like, you're down 2-0 to Boston. You're not getting looks at guys in the playoffs right now. And like, Doug McDermott's only been in the league for about 15 years now.
I just found it weird. Not only weird that he did it, that he in effect said, okay, wave the white flag on this game early, but that no one remarked on it. I was like,
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that there was communication issues or something throughout.
Okay,
the whole
but we
broadcast.
don't have comms in our ears either. We're figuring it out watching it. So I don't know if you
I read on Twitter that Tyrese Halliburton was out of the game.
Well, that part, yes. That part I wouldn't have known.
Yes.
Right, but the other part where you're like...
the guys being out, yeah, you're right.
Celtics up 2-0. Now, the big story, of course, is the Halliburton injury. Hammies are pesky. Again, he missed 10 games in January. If he is done, let's just go to the extreme. And we don't know yet. We're going to know more today. We're going to know more tomorrow, probably, before Game 3. It could be the ultimate game-time decision back in Indiana. If he's done, let's go to that extreme, Kelly. This series is done.
Series done.
It's over. And the Celtics, and again, I know Porzingis is hurt, but the Celtics will have continued their royal flush of playing teams with just ridiculous injuries.
I mean, this is... I was trying to think of it last night. I didn't want to go Google it because I'm like, look, there's probably one or two I'm forgetting that are really obvious. But like, this is as easy of a run to the NBA Finals as I can ever remember.
It's incredible. Now, you're not old enough to remember this. You was probably before you were even born. Yeah, before you were born. There was in terms of what the results were. The Sixers in '83 had just an unbelievable run. Moses Malone famously talking about that. I think there was a Lakers championship where they didn't lose a game until the finals. So there have been historically easier. But in terms of just again, to use the term, the royal flush of injuries,
right?
Nothing like this that I can ever remember. By the way, the Celtics are 7-point favorites with the Halliburton injury and the questionable status. That's my word. The Celtics are 7-point favorites tomorrow night back in Indiana, 222.5. I don't know if you have a thought on that. I mean, I don't know how you can without knowing Halliburton's status.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think if he does get ruled out, this number will move up a bit more, Gil. But I'll probably still lay it with Boston. The Pacers team just felt like they were coming undone while Tyrese Halliburton was leaving the game and out of the game, right? Like that was.
I don't understand what I was watching.
Me either.
Is Turner not able to play? Like, what's going on here?
Can I go back to the second quarter real quick too? Because one of the odd parts to me about it was once they had finally brought up the scoring drought. Then they were talking for like several minutes, like no NBA team had ever overcome a 13-point deficit before, in the second quarter. And then it was like we somehow went from that, and then it was the Halliburton injury. And by the end of the game, when everybody's out of the game, I'm like, this feels like it's Game 4 and the series is over.
Well, then I'm like, am I watching Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals? What am I watching here? By the way, your Mavericks, we'll call them Kelly Bidlin's Mavericks.
Go.
5-point dogs tonight at Minnesota Game 2. Minnesota trying to prevent the 0-2 deficit on their home court, trying to even up the series at 1 apiece. Totals at 207. You have a play on this?
I do not. I'm staying away. I think that, look, I think Minnesota, if you're going to get them at 5, if you're seeing 5 still a good bet at 5.5, probably be a pass for me. I got my Mavericks series stuff. We talked a lot about it yesterday. I think there's a lot of questions from Game 1 on both sides. I don't really believe the Mavericks are only going to hit 6 3-pointers. I don't believe that Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are going to play as poorly and horribly on offense as they did all last game. So I do expect Minnesota to look a lot better tonight. I think if you're laying 5, I don't mind that at all.
We'll come back. I added a French Open bet. We'll get to that. Got to talk about this baseball game last night. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
For a limited time only, we're offering our annual subscription at an unbeatable price. Normally priced at $240. You can now grab your subscription for just $199. Sign up today. We'll also give you an extra 2 months for free. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use promo code ANG. 50 cents. With VSiN Pro, you'll gain instant access to our daily best bets with the leaderboard to see which VSiN expert has the hot hand, betting splits to show you where the money and bets are moving for every game, betting systems, premium analysis, 24/7 video access. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe today to claim your 14 months of VSiN Pro for only $199 with promo code ANG.
ANG, it's a numbers game. Use the promo code now.
That's VSiN.com/subscribe. Skill Alexander, that's Kelly Bidlin. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Always appreciate the feedback. Tronsky at, John Osher, I believe he says. With equal pay for tennis, why can't women play best of 3 of 5 in majors as well? Is it more of a scheduling conundrum, or does the WTA think women cannot handle it? Tronsky, I will not get into a discussion about equal pay in tennis because I love women's tennis and I will not slander it whatsoever. But I will remark on this without comment, Kelly. The ladies of The View had a comment yesterday about women's basketball. Would you like to hear the quote about it? Let's see if I can find it now. No, I can't find it. No, not too bad. I blew it. It was going to be great.
I'm sure it was going to be awesome.
It was going to be awesome. I'll find it for you in a bit.
All right.
I'll read some more tweets. This is from, Jonathan Davis going to be on like Joby. He says, can we talk about the most significant event in sports that happened last night on ANG this morning? I'm talking, of course, about the new Jardians commercial that debuted during the NBA Finals.
This is a great tweet, Joby. I picked up my phone to text Gil almost immediately, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is old. Maybe I've missed a couple. Because it's not what, like, we've gotten to the point with Jardians where it just blends into the background. I don't even notice them anymore.
Oh, I notice every detail.
But, yeah, I noticed that one, Joby. I noticed that. I was like, who's this dude? Where'd this dude come from?
Here's the quote from The View, Whoopi Goldberg quote. These women are oftentimes equal, if not better, sometimes than the folks you're watching in basketball. Hostin, another host, Sonny Hostin, sometimes better than the guys. I'll just leave that without comment.
Okay.
But I will not talk about women's tennis, the greatest sport there is. Mike Zhang, outside of NFL Megapods, listening to Gil and Drew on the tennis ones is gold. Thank you. Gold? No, money, he said. Not gold, sorry. Wadzilla, just listen to the podcast, the French Open podcast. Outstanding as usual. Love the rapport you and Drew have. And the humorous way you provide thoughtful analysis. I did find it hard to keep up with what the actual plays were, though. Will these be posted anywhere? We can talk about them right now. These are the tennis plays, again, that I have. And I'll tell you what, I want to point people to the podcast list because Drew did spell out what he liked as well, which I agreed with. But I ended up again on Iga Swiatek to win on the women's side. I got her at -116. She's now -155-ish.
I think it keeps going up.
Just to put that in context, because Drew and I talked about this on the show yesterday on the podcast, Beating the Book. Serena Williams in her entire career Serena Williams of 23 singles titles, Grand Slams, never in any one of those tournaments pre-flop was minus 156 in any of them.
Wait, what?
So Rafa was, right, on clay, on the men's side, Rafa was like minus 400. We went through this historically. Drew has a database. But on the ladies' side...
Like Serena U.S. Open, never?
Because Serena was more all-court, right? So Rafa on clay, the king of clay, he would have, as his career progressed, he would have outlandish pre-flop numbers at Roland Garros. Iga, still 20, not even 23 yet, 23 next week. She is now getting to the point because of her dominance on that one surface, right? Which Serena didn't. She was just a great all-court.
Like that part makes sense.
Makes sense.
But like Serena was so good, like it's almost hard to wrap your mind around. That's incredible. So I did not know that.
Yeah, so I cannot contractually. Again, that's why you got to listen to the Beating the Book podcast because Drew is awesome on that. So I got her at minus 116, so I can't recommend the price now. But I do have the parlays with the three players: Carlitos, Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic, and Casper Ruud. Ruud being the long shot at 20-1. Ruud ended up in the same quarter as Djokovic. That's actually a pretty good draw because that quarter final looks like it's going to happen. Like, I don't think there's a lot of hurdles between now and then. The one that I added, so I have all the raw data, all these tennis players, men's and women's, on every surface, and this is how I bet tennis. And one of the most surprising revelations leading up to the podcast yesterday was the clay numbers of Jan-Lennard Struff, whose clay numbers, just to put it in perspective, I have him 8th on tour on clay in terms of 1 year and 6 month numbers. That was a real shock to me when going through all of this. And I'm talking about the only people above him are the Jokers, Sinners, Alcarazes, Zverev, Fritz, Ruud, and Rublevs of the world. Like even Tsitsipas is like right below him or right around there. So Jan-Lennard Struff ended up in Q2, which is essentially the Zverev-Medvedev quarter. 14-1 at MGM. By the way, shout out to BetMGM here in Nevada. We didn't think the reason we did the podcast yesterday is we weren't sure when quarter prices would come out. BetMGM came through.
They were up by the time you guys recorded?
No, right after we recorded.
Okay, I'm still
But
impressed,
I was like, wow, good on you. Because usually BetMGM does it outside of Nevada, but they had it in Nevada too. So Jan-Lennard Struff to win Q2, 14-1. I would tell you Drew's, but I want you to go listen to the podcast because he had some great comments also about Q2 and Q1 as well.
What was his fair price on Iga? Because he's really heavy on Iga this time around too, right? I mean, like
his fair price was right around what it is now. I can't remember what his fair price is, but the one exercise we wanted to do was, he brought this up. Good shout out to Drew on this, Drew Dinsick. He's going to go through using the price of minus 156, which is the pre-flop number yesterday. We're actually going to try to figure out now if Iga has gotten to the point in her career on clay where doing a rollover parlay is better.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because Rafa had situations where that was the better way to go once, because essentially books made Rafa so expensive that they were saying to the bettors, please don't bet this dude, because we know he's winning, right? So don't bet him on a futures price. We're going to make it so high that you don't bet it.
That's a good call.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Minus 165 she's out to now at DraftKings. 165.
Yeah. She's that girl. He's the king of clay. She's the queen of clay.
Yeah, they got reshuffled a bit from what we were looking at yesterday when they first got reposted right after the draw. Like she went to 165. Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, Rybakina, like all similar odds, and then everybody else got you can get some long shots on the women's side of the French Open if you'd like.
It's like if you go through what are the most dominant things in sports, Rafa on clay is probably like the all-timer.
Yeah.
But Scotty Scheffler on a current run, Iga on clay, Barry Bonds at baseball, Michael Jordan at basketball. Like, those are all like the same kinds of things. Nemesis Enforcers, we continue with the tweets. You're right. Monaco and Indy 500 are always Memorial Day weekend. There's your answer, Kelly.
Okay.
Thank you, Nemesis. Let's see. Kevin Ryan. Gil, welcome to the new NBA where you automatically pass up a sure layup and throw the ball to a player to attempt lesser percentage three-pointers. What am I watching? Oh, and CRG Futures, he backs me up. He says the 87 Lakers, went 11-1 in the Western Conference playoffs, losing only to the Warriors in Game 4 of the semis when Sleepy Floyd went for 51 and 10 assists in Oakland. Sleepy. Georgetown great Eric Sleepy Floyd. And, of course, the Warriors, the year that the Warriors won, where they went 15-1. Remember, they went 14-0 in the postseason? We even had props at the South Point. Will the Warriors go undefeated? People forget how dominant the Warriors were.
No, yeah, but those were also we're talking about. I mean,
but these
a lot of Celtics backers would say probably what I'm about to say. But you're talking about two all-time great teams there, and did they really run into the same kind of injury luck?
That's what I'm saying. Totally different category is what the Celtics team is. Because they're just getting the hurdles are just falling in front of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not trying to take anything away from Boston, but it's way easier to prepare for the Cleveland Cavaliers when Donovan Mitchell's out, and the Pacers with no Tyrese Halliburton.
Before we get to the racing bets, last night. I wasn't watching this live because it was the last baseball game on. All the games, on a short Thursday card had already finished, including the Yankees and Phillies continuing to win baseball games. They refused to lose. So it was the Orioles and the White Sox late. I don't know if you saw this. I got a text. We got a text on our group thread from Fezzik. He's like, did you see the end of this game? The Orioles were up on the White Sox 8-2 in the ninth. White Sox big rally. In a year of baseball where it just seems like huge late rallies are abundant. The Giants and Buccos, the Pirates, just played a 3-game series where the Pirates had an unbelievable comeback to win Game 1, and the Giants did the same in Games 2 and 3. So it happens all the time, and in that case, every game of the series. So it's 8-6, right? White Sox have runners on first and second. Andrew Vaughn is on second base for the White Sox. 1 out. They're down 2 runs, runners on first and second. Infield fly roll. Hit goes up. Gunnar Henderson, the Orioles shortstop. So now picture this. It's an infield fly roll where the ball is it's a pop-up on the interior of the infield. Mm-hmm. So Andrew Vaughn, who of course is on second base with his back to the outfield, right? On his way to catch that infield fly roll, Gunnar Henderson might have grazed Andrew Vaughn's jersey. Andrew Vaughn's not looking to see where Gunnar Henderson is. Gunnar Henderson's just trying to navigate to get the ball. Not only is it infield fly roll, but the third base umpire, Junior Valentine,
interference or something?
Rules interference.
I did not see this.
Ends the game.
Oh.
This is what? I get balls and strikes suck when they're wrong, but this is like an umpire actively trying to insert himself to end a Major League Baseball game. As Fezzik pointed out this morning, could you imagine if this was a playoff game?
I mean, was it? I'll have to look at it. I mean, was it clear and obvious, ridiculous?
If you watch it on the break. Okay. You will die. You'll be like, this cannot happen. It's incredible. We'll come back. All your racing bets next. Numbers Game VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This segment is brought to you by ZYN nicotine pouches. Few things are as rewarding as winning the big game, but rewards from America's #1 nicotine pouch come close. ZYN nicotine pouches are smoke-free, spit-free, hassle-free, and can be enjoyed from anywhere, anytime. It's available in a deep roster of varieties and gives you the choice of 2 strengths. Whether you're managing your fantasy lineup on the go, watching the game from the stands, or cheering your favorite team from the couch, you can get the nicotine satisfaction you want with ZYN. Plus, with ZYN Rewards, every can of ZYN earns you points towards premium items like tailgating gear, top-of-the-line tech, kitchen accessories, and even gift cards. In fact, it's the only nicotine pouch brand to offer an expansive reward program, with new items added seasonally. Find your ZYN at your local convenience store or online at ZYN.com. That's ZYN, ZYN.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Well, before we get to Phil Bobbitt and motorsports picks for the weekend, Kelly's reaction now to the White Sox and the Orioles is?
Basically, my same reaction is when I saw the Scotty Scheffler video get released yesterday. I'm like, all right, where does it happen? Where's it going to happen? Where's it at?
It's insane, dude.
Wait, I must have missed it. Let me watch it again. No, it's not there. It's not there. All right, let me watch it again. Oh, they're talking about this part. Oh, okay.
Now, think about it from a betting perspective. Most people, let's be honest, the Orioles were north of $2 favorites. So most people probably either had the Orioles in a run line or the Orioles as part of a money line parlay.
Great call.
And so they're probably thrilled with that umpire. By the way, the umpire's name is Junior Valentine, if I didn't mention.
Yeah, whenever, if you had Orioles run line last night.
Oh, man.
You don't get to complain about a bet for at least a month.
That's right. All right, no time to waste. Big motorsports weekend, and to help us with all picks in all of them, Phil Bobbitt, motorsports handicapper, staff writer for CBS Sportsline. You can follow him on Twitter at SpeedwaySteve2. That's the number 2. He comes to us courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Phil, what's happening, man?
Good morning, fellas. This is a holiday weekend, and we've got a ton of racing to get to. Let's get it.
I just learned Memorial Day was 3 days ago. How about you, Kelly? When did you learn?
Like a week ago.
Yeah. No, it's coming a little early this week. But you knew because we have all these races. Okay, before we get to your picks, just one thing of small talk. This is kind of an interesting thing from Kyle Larson, right? Explain what he's trying to do.
Kyle Larson is trying to prove himself to be the best driver in the world, and he's done a heck of a job so far. He's going to be running the double on Sunday, which is the Indianapolis 500, and then taking a plane ride to Charlotte and driving 600 more miles in the Cup Series. It's insane. And he's crushing expectations. He qualified 5th for the Indy 500. First time ever in one of these cars, 240 miles an hour plus, qualified 5th. It's nuts. He went from a 20-1 favorite. Now he's about 6 or 7-1. And he's the favorite at the Coke 600. It's insane. I would caution you not to bet this guy until you know there's going to be no rain in Indy on Sunday. Some books, since he practiced and qualified, they'll grade it as action. So you want to make sure that the race is going to run before you bet this guy.
Okay, so that's a good note because obviously betting is a different thing. But you do believe he is the best driver in the world, yes?
Undoubtedly. He is, whether it's a dirt car, a sprint car, cup car, whether it's an oval or a road course, he's just the best in the world. He can drive anything. He'd probably win a race on a lawnmower. He's just incredible.
All right. So
I believe if you're going to do 2 races in the same day, though, car races, you should have to drive to the second race. Flying, it just feels like we're cutting corners at this point. Come on.
This is unbelievable that he's trying to do this, though. This is incredible. Okay, so we have the Indy 500. We got a Cup Series. We have the Coke 600. We got a BetMGM 300. We got the F1, obviously. Let's start with the Indy 500. Let's give the Indy 500 its respect and start there. What did you, knowing the weather situation, what did you end up betting?
All right, so I led off the card with Joseph Newgarden to win. He's plus 550 at FanDuel. He's around 5-1 market wide. This guy is the oval king. He's won 8 out of the last 11 races on an oval in IndyCar, including 5 in a row. He was in road to win his 6th. He was leading, popped the tire, crashed. So, but if there's no left-hand turns, if there's no right-hand turns, Joseph Newgarden is your guy. If you're a little bit more risk averse, you can take Team Penske to win, which includes Newgarden, his teammate Will Power, and Scott McLaughlin, plus 140 at Bet Rivers. You get all 3 of those guys. It's a good price, even if you Dutch their best prices market wide. Newgarden, Power, McLaughlin, Team Penske, plus 140. That's a good way to bet it.
I like that. So Newgarden, if you're a little frisky, singular plus 550, but if you're a little more risk averse, Team Penske, which includes him at plus 140. What about matchups?
Yep, I got 2 of those picked out. The first one is Colton Herta over Santino Ferrucci. This is by far my favorite play on the card for the Indy 500. Ferrucci is starting 6th. Colton Herta starting 13th. However, Herta's pit crew is 4th on the circuit. Santino Ferrucci's is 20th. There's going to be between 8 and 10 4-tire pit stops in this race. So a lot of chances for Herta to make up the ground on pit road. And plus, he turned the fastest lap in all of the practice sessions during the lead up to the Indy 500. Also, in free practice 8, where they turn the engines down and concentrate on race pace, he was incredible. The car was balanced, fast. He could work traffic. I don't think it'll be long before Colton Herta surpasses Santino Ferrucci.
Okay,
next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. One more. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the next one is Alexander Rossi over teammate Pato O'Ward. This one is more of a feel. I know sometimes in the NFL we handicap locker rooms. I just like Rossi's attitude here. Team Penske locked out the front row in qualifying. Rossi was visibly annoyed that his team couldn't get in that front row, and he looked ready for business. Meanwhile, Pato O'Ward, the last time we heard from him, he was crying on the radio at the last race for the Sancio Grand Prix about bad tire strategy. Then he was in the news complaining about some annoying things in the car that they couldn't perfect. I just like Rossi to get it done. I like his attitude.
All right, then top 5s and top 10s follow suit.
Correct. We're going to go Joseph Newgarden for a top 5 as well. A little ladder play there. And then Alex Palou, he's your championship favorite. And then we're going to take a little Colton Herta as well, plus 165. A little sprinkle for a top 10. We're going to go Marcus Ericsson, plus 230. He junked his car in practice. So he's on the back foot. He barely made the race, but he won this race in 2022. He was the runner-up last year. I like Ericsson to make some noise.
If you have trouble remembering Joseph Newgarden, by the way, Kelly, the cool kids call him Joey Noogs. I don't know if you know that.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to F1 in Monaco. Watch how good I am at F1. You're gonna play Max Verstappen to win, right?
Yeah, the price is incredible. It's minus 135. He was slow in free practice 1 this morning, so that should get a little bit better. There's no overtaking at Monaco. It's the most boring race to watch because the cars are so big. And it's such a tight and winding circuit. There's no long DRS zones. So qualifying is actually the race, and that'll be on Saturday. We like Verstappen to win. You can probably get a nice plus price for him to win the pole as well, and that's sort of the same bet.
And some matchups there as well.
Yep, we're going to take Oscar Piastri over Carlos Sainz. Piastri, he's had a heck of a couple of weeks here. The McLaren that he's driving just got a full set of upgrades, and he was really, really fast this morning. Carlos Sainz, he drives for Ferrari. They just brought a bunch of upgrades too, but he's sort of the forgotten man. He doesn't have a seat there next year. Not sure how many meetings he's allowed in anymore. They're going to be focusing all their resources as Charles Leclerc, his teammates. So we like Piastri to beat Sainz. We also like George Russell to beat Lewis Hamilton. Same sort of situation here. Hamilton's on the way out. Russell is probably getting all the good stuff. We like Russell to win that matchup as well.
All right, and then Kelly, these are your favorite bets. Classified finishers and safety car. We remember this from Vegas. What do you got there?
All right, it's a ridiculous price on a safety car, yes, this weekend. So we're just going to be take the other side. It's 4-1. It's supposed to be dry. So, with no rain, there's no reason why this safety car can't hit over 17.5 classified finishers. Has hit 5 out of 7 times this year. Nice plus price at FanDuel and BetRivers and all over the market. Might as well not root for chaos.
Okay. Now, Coke 600. We got about a minute here, Phil. Let's run through everything you got for the Coke 600, the longest race of the year.
Longest race of the year. So we're going to take Martin Truex, 11-1 at FanDuel, and then a ladder play on him at the top 5. He's 3rd in our power rating and sim metrics, 4th in green flag speed this year, 4th best pit crew on and off time. Lots of pit stops. It's a long race, so we like him in those markets. We also like Ty Gibbs over Ross Chastain. Another sim play. He's 8th in green flag speed. Ross is 11th. We have Ty projected 3 spots ahead and just a much better pit crew.
All right, you want to vomit out some Xfinity plays before we go? I lied.
Let's do it. In Xfinity, we're taking Austin Hill over Noah Gragson. Gragson's one of our favorite guys. He likes to drink beer and climb fences, but he's driving for a brand new team. This is their very first race. Austin Hill's the points leader, best pit crew on the circuit. You got to get down on Austin Hill over Noah Gragson. Same sort of mindset here. We're taking Cole Custer over Chase Elliott. Truck Series bonus, Connor Mosack over Jake Garcia. Brett Moffitt over Tyler Ankrum. That's all I got.
Phil, you're awesome. Go drink beer and climb fences.
My favorite pastime, America.
America. Phil Bobbitt, everybody. Thank you so much. At Speedway Steve 2 on Twitter from CBS Sportsline, giving us a bevy of motorsports picks. Paul Carr on soccer next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Are this close to crowning an NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New to DraftKings? Well, listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5. You'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code VSiN. The crown is yours. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Isaac Myers. 2001 Lakers went 15-1 in their championship run. Probably the most dominant run I've ever seen. Admittedly, I am biased toward the Lakers. They swept everyone until losing game 1 of the finals at home to the Sixers. The Iverson walkover of Tyronn Lue, which Kelly has, of course, made into a thing on tennis.
That's right.
That's right.
Allen Iverson not injured during that series.
Isaac Meyer also at Shabbat Shalom. Do you know whenever I'm on with Dave Ross, that's always what I first say to him. I go, Dave, Shabbat Shalom. That's a little joke we have. Rick Ollier. Gilliott was clearly interference in the Sox-Orioles game. Henderson was dragged to the ground by Vaughn, and I even heard that he ripped his pants beyond repair. Yes, it was terrible. Trip Tepper, I'm with you here, Trip. Said found Struve 21 to win Q2 and Urquhat's 13 to 1 to win Q4. He was obviously listening to the podcast too. Yeah, Sinner's health will be the story of Q4. Let's go. I'm with you, Trip. I believe that is a massive story. I don't think that's stepping out on a limb, but it will determine so much. Jason Stark, I beg to differ with your guest on Kyle Larson as the best driver in the world. He's great, and I love him, but Tony Stewart is the only driver to complete all 1,100 miles of the double, great on dirt, and is now drag racing on NHRA. So I guess I can't even say I think he meant today because he's saying he's still racing, drag racing.
Yeah, I got a problem with the flying thing still. Like, if you're that great, they'll hold up the race for you. You know what I mean? That's kind of like Scheffler last weekend. They held up golf. Maybe they used weather as an excuse, but they held up golf.
Buddhist Man has always shop around. He got Struve Q2 21 to 1 on Advocate Skirmish. So there you go. Jamie Leva, quote, drinking beer and climbing fences was all the analysis I needed. I'm all in. If you ain't first, you're last. Happy Friday, gentlemen. Happy Friday to you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he comes to us from the heartland. Some call it the flyover states. I won't do that, though. I'm a little more sensitive. Topeka, Kansas, Paul Carr, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. He comes to us from True Media Networks, and he's the host of the Expected Value podcast. How you doing, Paulie?
I'm well, Gil. I appreciate it. We people in the Midwest, we're people too, darn it.
That's right. I always found that to be. I wonder how they feel about that characterization. Okay, before we get into your picks here, and we got some FA Cup coming up, so you're going to have to do that whole explanation. Let's do a little review of your Premier League season, shall we? How did you do in the end?
Yeah, had a pretty good season on the whole. Ended up about 6 units on the whole for all the picks on VSiN. Really struggled early. I was down about 9 units at the turn of the calendar, and then went on a good run the latter half of the season to finish up 6 units on the Premier League so far.
Nicely done.
So far, the season's over. Yeah.
What futures did you hit? What didn't you hit?
The only thing I hit was Arsenal top 4, and that was minus 200. So that wasn't a big one, but it was something. I had Arsenal to win the title at plus 550. I do feel like this is one of those situations where I think it was a right pick. It was a good pick. It was proven right in some ways because Arsenal. The whole theory was Arsenal's got another gear. If something goes wrong with City, Arsenal is by far the second best team to win the title. Kevin De Bruyne didn't play for half the season for City, but City just got through it. And when they made the turn of the calendar and they're only, I think, 5 points behind Arsenal with, arguably their best player and missed half the season, that was kind of the trouble point for Arsenal. But, Arsenal was better. They were better than they were last year. So I feel like it was the right play. It just didn't win this time.
Yeah. Valet at the building, Kim, not happy. But he knew it. He's like, I've known for a month they're not going to win. He's not even nonplussed by the whole thing. He's like, most defeatist fan ever. All the other valets are calling him Kimberly, which I don't think is very nice because of this.
That's not nice.
No, it's not very nice. Okay, FA Cup. Explain to the American sports fan, because soccer discombobulates. Got all these national leagues, then you got this Champions League, and then you got these other things. What is the FA Cup?
Wait. There's another trophy. So this is, again, I like to use college basketball as the example. Imagine there were a single tournament for every college basketball team in the country, even beyond Division I. So this is a knockout tournament with 750 clubs in Europe. And some of them are, at the very lowest levels, it's, Joe's Pub or whatever it is that has a team and, semi-pro at best that gets in. But then eventually the Premier League teams come in later in the competition and they've won every one since mid-2000s, I think, when Portsmouth, won a title. But anyway. So it's essentially a big knockout tournament that a Premier League team wins. So
at some point, Lo, the Joe's Pub team has dreams of beating a Premier League club team. Is that basically what this is?
Dreams, yeah, more likely.
Yeah.
A team like that would have to win a lot of games to get there.
Sure.
The big upsets are usually, second, third, maybe fourth division teams in England knocking off a Premier League team in, the 5th round or something like that.
Okay. FA Cup final on Saturday. What you got? Man City and Man U.
Yeah, it's a Manchester derby. It's a weird one in the sense that you've got the Premier League champ, Man City, against a Manchester United team that, while they're crosstown rivals and historically good, pretty much a mess this season. United did finish 8th, but their underlying numbers had them as low as 15th. They had a negative goal difference, a lot of late goals to salvage points. They're really good in 1-goal games, which just like baseball. Teams run hot or cold in 1-run games. That's not necessarily sustainable. Similar thing in soccer. So this is a don't overthink it for me, and I'm just taking Man City. I'm laying the goal and a half at minus 120. I got a little better earlier in the week, but minus 120 is where I'm seeing most places now. Take the better team. I mean, City's beaten United twice this season, 3-0 and 3-1. And when they played in March, City outshot them 27-3. I just think it's that kind of game. City's won 9 straight games by multiple goals. United report just came out like an hour ago. They're probably going to fire their manager, win or lose in this match. So that's never great.
Oh, that's never great. Yeah.
No, not a good thing. So yeah, I'm just taking City. I'll lay the goal and a half. If United manages to keep it close, or if they salvage some late goal to cut it to 1 or something, you kind of shrug your shoulders and tip your cap to them.
All right, Man City, pardon me, minus the goal and a half versus Man U in the FA Cup Manchester Derby, the final on Saturday. Then Sunday, the championship playoff final. That has a very generic name. Explain that to us.
Yeah, I think this is poorly named personally. I'm sure some English people will yell at me, but the championship is the second division in England. So the top three teams every year get promoted up to the Premier League. First place, second place, and then 3rd through 6th go through a playoff. So this is the final of that playoff. And this is, they call it the richest match in sports because the winner of this game that gets promotion, it's worth $300 million. That might be conservative because there's guaranteed money in TV deals, plus whatever else you get from sponsorship, ticket sales, all that stuff.
So this is to
much more for your club.
Or put otherwise, this is to replace Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Yes. So Leicester City and Ipswich Town were 1st and 2nd in the championship. They've been promoted. And now Leeds and Southampton are playing for that last promotion spot. So it's 90 minutes, maybe extra time. It's worth $300+ million.
You have to just pause for that. There is nothing. I can't imagine there's anything globally with the pressure of this game.
Oh, it's crazy. Paul, this is the dream for the Wrexhams out there in the Crawley towns.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that. And what they've been is just, 2-3 levels higher.
Right.
4 levels higher compared to what they're at. And yeah, just the money at stake is astronomically more. It really is nuts that so much is at stake in a single match that can obviously turn so easily on one, funny bounce, one card, one referee decision, whatever it is.
All right, so you are playing a total, and it's not your typical Paul Carr total.
No, this is, I don't know how many years in a row I've played this in the championship final, to be honest. I might be out of fingers. Under 2.5. I played at minus 110 earlier in the week. I think it's at minus 120 or so now. Under 2.5 goals. This is a 90-minute bet. So if it goes to extra time, those goals don't count. Again, it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. The last 4 championship finals have had 2 or fewer goals in regulation, and 10 of the last 11. So it's that, which, narratively, it makes sense. The tension, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to get blown out. Keep it close. Plus, this matchup specifically, Leeds has the best defense in the championship this season. They give up the fewest expected goals, fewest shots, etc. One of Leeds' attackers, Patrick Bamford, is out with an injury, so that might slow them down a little bit. But yeah, just 1-0, everyone's thrilled. Is a 1-1 go to extra time? It's hard to see a team pressing in the last minute or two to try to get something when extra time and maybe penalties are looming. So this is writing the history as much as anything. Under 2.5, minus 120.
Gotcha. Okay, so FA Cup final tomorrow, Man City minus goal and a half versus Man U, and then the championship playoff final on Sunday for an estimated $300 million. Really, is what it could mean to them. Leeds, Southampton under 2.5 goals. So just to clarify on your way out, so Wrexham and Crawley, which are now in League One, this is not this table, correct? Next year?
Correct. Yeah. So it's Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two.
Okay. So they are 2 below Premier League now. Oh! Don't ever bet against Preston Johnson, Paul. I'm just going to tell you that
I will not. I've learned my lesson.
Yes. Yes, yeah. Have you been betting against Preston?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, definitely not.
Wow. Sounds like it might have been. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate all the explanations. And the bets, of course.
Have a good one.
Paul Carr, everybody, at Paul Carr, Carr, on Twitter. Do we have some instant offense from Legasa next?
Oh, yeah.
John Legasa, the microwave on MLB next. It's a numbers game. The Sports Betting Network.
We're this close to crowning an NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at Draft.